welcome to this very special confab for Black History Month. In case you don't know me, my name is Gabby and I'm founder of Diversity Alliance, consultancy, training, education, advocacy, social impact organisation for the events and hospitality industries, and also co-founder of the Diverse Speaker Bureau, which does what it says on the tin, provides diverse speakers from diverse backgrounds who can speak on a diverse range of topics and are highly knowledgeable and charismatic. And that's me. Today, I'm wearing a grey t-shirt with a gold chain. I have brown skin, long dark hair, wearing my normal red lipstick, which I like to have when I get on camera, my little power play. My background is beige today. My pronouns are also she, her. But I'm really delighted this time because it's the first time that I've had a guest join me on this confab. And I really she's going to introduce herself in a minute, but I'm really delighted to have somebody else who has experiences as a woman of color, a Black woman in the events industry, to share their thoughts and their insights as well. So with that, I'm really delighted to welcome Tinique Hay. Tinique, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, Gabby, for inviting me on this important topic of conversation. So my name is Tinique Hay and I am the proud owner of a multi-award-winning events management company called Hay Events. What we do, we help entrepreneurs and small business owners plan impactful events to increase their brand to the next level. So I provide a full event management service from venue finding to event logistical support, to finding suppliers, to on-site management. So yeah, this conversation is very important to me, given that many of my clients, well, I'll say 75% of my clients are Afro-Caribbean, which means they always want to look for venues who have a diverse suppliers list, in particular providing Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean catering, which I find it very, very difficult. So this is why I proposed this to Gabby for us to collaborate on this important conversation. So I am wearing a pink top. My background is beige. That's just got my logo at the back. I've got locks in my hair, and my pronouns is she, her.
Thank you so much. And for me, it was really important. So I know that this month's kind of Black History Month's topic is about saluting our sisters. So amazing that we have all women on this call. And that's partly why I wanted to be, co-collaborator on this confab as well. But really the key thing is, and we keep shouting about this, it's not about looking at Black History Month and looking at the trauma and looking at the negative experiences and talking about anti-racism and conscious bias and microaggressions. Yes, that stuff is important, but what's more important is actually focusing on the Black community and their excellence, how we can better support the Black community, Black professionals, entrepreneurs, what needs to be done, how can we break some of those systemic barriers that exist out there. I'm more interested in that sort of thing, and from my conversations with other people of color, that's what they're interested in as well. We're moving forward to excellence. We're not reflecting back on the crap. So that's why this is a really important topic, and that's why we're focusing on this particularly today. Now, just for those of you that are in attendance, just to let you know, this is a brave, safe space for you to share what you want to share your insights. Know that we're really respectful of your experiences and of each other, and we want to feel like you're comfortable and happy to ask questions and share your experiences too. And really briefly, I'll just share the agenda. So we're going to have a little bit of a poll to get a bit of insights of our guests today. We're going to share some case studies, Tinique and I, around some of our experiences around Black excellence, supply chains, working with diverse businesses, etc. And then we're going to have a conversation with everyone on this call, essentially, and just have a bit of a chat, see what comes out of that chat. So that is the brief agenda for today. Why don't we start off with the poll, Naomi, if you're happy to share. And guess if you have your phone with you, a QR code will be coming up in for you to access the poll, and or Naomi, I think, is going to pop the URL into the chat if you'd prefer to go on your desktop rather than your phone. So up to you. You can scan the QR code here, or you can click on the URL, which is now in the chat, to see the poll questions. And whilst you're doing that, we developed this poll because they're based on some of the experiences, challenges, questions that we've had from venues, from business owners, from agencies, from Black professionals. So that's how these questions essentially have come about? And can you just give us a thumbs up, or just let us know that you've managed to access the Slido okay, our guests?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, why don't we move on to the questions then, Brill? Okay, so question 1. Does your organization currently have a diverse supplier network in place for event planning and production? Yes, no, somewhat. And if you don't know, you can also click the somewhat. Oh, yeah. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to come back to these responses in a minute. Let's go on to the next question. So have you or your managers, leaders, direct reports engaged with Black-owned event suppliers or vendors? So if you know your organization or you personally engage with Black-owned event suppliers or vendors, let us know. Excellent. And let's go on to that third question. So is your organization or the organization that you work for or your company taking steps to foster and support Black talent within the events or hospitality industry? Yes, no, somewhat. And again, if you're not sure, you can hit the somewhat. We can delve a bit deeper into that. Lovely. Okay, interesting. We're going to come back to those responses and have a bit of a chat around that actually in a second. I think Naomi is going to pull together those stats there so we can refer back. I think what we're going to do now, Naomi, could we perhaps share a little video? So I had a conversation with B. Gilmore, they, them, trans man, and they just had a really interesting insight into how to actually communicate with and support talent and suppliers from a diverse range of backgrounds. So this isn't necessarily specific to Black talent, but I think what she shares is actually applicable to be inclusive across the board. So yeah, if you want to hit play, Naomi, that'd be great.
Putting myself in a room with other Black event professionals, event entrepreneurs, and being inspired by them and getting tips from them, because some of them have been in their own business for 20 plus years. So I love going to these types of networking events like the Black Business Show, and I went to a Black business networking event as well. So I put myself in a room full of other Black event professionals and business owners and business women who I can gain inspiration from, who I can gain guidance from, who I can gain key gems that they can give me. And for me, I am my own brand, so I'm not going to shy away from who I am, because my clients book me because of me. So
if you're interacting with any person of some kind of underrepresented background, can you consider their whole experience and handle that interaction with more care than you traditionally would? And there's something that sort of feels like a systemic healing that can exist in those micro interactions. And I've found that. I've been looking, for some additional work right now and having a lot of sort of intro calls, interviews with people. And every single one I practice sharing, by the way, I'm trans. These are my pronouns. This is the hormone journey that I'm on. Do you feel like y'all have the capacity to really actually arrive to that and show up for that? And the reason that I ask that question is to see what happens in their response. Not because no one's going to say, no, we don't have the capacity, right? Obviously not. I know that. But what I'm looking for is are they receiving my vulnerability with care?
Yeah.
Oh, Gabby on mute.
Thanks for sharing that, Naomi. So Tinique, obviously you shared some of the things that you do to build your network, create more opportunities for yourself. Was there anything you wanted to add in relation to that you feel like you didn't have an
Oh,
opportunity?
I think the main thing for me, like I mentioned, was actually getting myself out there and going to these networking events. And that's how I'm connecting with all these Black owned businesses that I can put on my suppliers list. So for me, networking and get myself out there and letting other small business owners know that I am here to support them and collaborate with them. Should I have an event, I will push them forward if they're right for that event or project, sorry. So I think my main thing would be, continue to network and build my suppliers list.
And what about you personally? So you're kind of talking about how you can champion other suppliers, but how can people champion you and your business?
I think just support my journey, my entrepreneurship journey, to be honest, because it's emotional roller coaster, and support me in a sense of just being my cheerleader, hopefully, and just sharing what I'm doing for the event industry and also what I'm doing for future event professionals as well, like going to the University of Hertfordshire and being a visiting lecturer and trying to inspire the next set of Black event professionals. So it's more of champion, hopefully, what I do, and sharing amongst your community and your friends and family.
Yeah, totally. I hear that. And that is all amazing. And also, I know that you also attended an event, a lot of alsos there. I know that you attended an event as well that Natalie Duval at Red Bull hosted. She put a shout out on LinkedIn, simple as that, for Black companies, Black suppliers, Black professionals, to build that suppliers list, and then held an event at the Red Bull offices, I believe, which you attended, right? How was that?
Yeah, so good. I think she just literally put a post and it just went, I thought it went viral. I was taken back by so many amazing small Black business owners that are in the room in our sector that were not really shouted about or seen and heard. So it was great to connect with like-minded Black business owners like myself, and everyone's in one room, in one place. And everyone's like just elevating their brand and supporting each other. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
It's a really simple initiative action, isn't it? But it had a massive impact. So I love that. For our guests, not to put you on the spot, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but was there anything that Tinique shared around things that she does to support Black suppliers and some support that she would like to see in relation to supporting her and her business that resonated with you, or that you've also done, or or something that you've experienced, for example?
Hi guys. Firstly, I really love what Tanisha is doing. Did I say the name right?
Tinique, yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously, from my experience, most of the people I met, they are all small business, Black business owned, and they don't go out of the being in the Black community. And that's when I just finished uni, and that was what my research was on, and I was like, why? And one thing I've started to do to build myself is that when I go in a networking event, I don't go mostly first to the people I look like, because I'm trying to do this like let's mix. So the way I think is that, okay, it has to start from me. So normally before, when I used to go networking event, I will scan who looks like me.
Yeah.
I will try to be, I really pay attention to try to network with people that don't look like me, that is diverse like me. And that's how you can create a community of diverse people. And that's helped me with little events that I've done, even in my church. And because I'm basically in the music industry, and when they need a keyboardist, I'll be like, oh yeah, I have a keyboardist. And then all of a sudden I'm hearing somebody from Asian begin to play some African tune. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about, the diverse things. And it's going to take a bit, but I'm really passionate, and I want to see the vet industry being mixed, not diverse this side and then Caucasian this side together.
Yeah, it's like a nightclub. I've got two really funny stories about that. One was what I used to actually say again, sorry.
I'm just laughing at what you said.
It's true though, isn't it? Thank you for sharing that. There's two funny stories. One, I'm not going to share this person's name actually because they're not here, so maybe it's not fair. But we were having a conversation laughing that at networking events, you'll see the Black people together and in a group. And then particularly if the R&B music comes on, they're first on the dance floor dancing in a group. But definitely I experienced that. I'm always all over that, doing that. And then the other one was when I used to work doing events for a huge nightclub, like high-end nightclub brand. And I did the rap party for Top Boy. And it was so funny. There's several rooms in the nightclub, and literally you had the room with the black people in it with the garage and all that stuff. And then you had like the room with the white production team and staff in it playing Sean Paul. It was dying. I was absolutely dying. I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but you're right. You know, it is about like, it shouldn't be like these suppliers are just for the black community. We need to expand outreach. And I'd love to see a report as well. Like, please share with me your
I'd love to see that, because that's interesting, because I normally you naturally gravitate to those who look like you, but I try and stay away from that and say, do you know what, let me go to someone who's by themselves, who's not black. Let me just go and connect with them. And that's what I think my mentality is as well. When I go to these network events, I normally do gravitate to people who look like me. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm circulating the room and talking to everyone, not just someone who just looks like me. And that's how like you said, we can make connections through there and educate them. Say, this is what I do. This is supplies that I have. Let's connect. So
yeah.
Exactly. That's so good. And I remember when I first kind of moved into the diversity and inclusion space and events and hospitality, we put together an advisory board. And, you know, I think there was like 12 on the advisory board, and there was a lot of white men on there. And people were like, what? This is a diversity board. Why have you got like loads of white people and white middle-aged men on there? I'm like, because these are the people we need to educate and have on our side. It's like, it's no point having an advisory board just made up of people of color. It needs to be a mix of people. And then we also need to include the people who can be our champions, but also who we can educate along the way too. Just referring to Bee's video, was there anything that resonated there? I know it was a little while ago, so if you can remember. And I think it was around, I think the piece that stood out for me, which I'd love your insights on or what your thoughts were, was when they said, I asked the question about how they can support trans and whether they can support trans people transitioning in the workplace. And I don't ask it because I want to know whether they can or not. I ask it to see the reaction. To see if there really is a real sense of inclusion and empathy there. I found that super interesting. Does anybody have any experiences that they might want to share around, you know, as a woman of color, around maybe how, I don't want to say how you've been treated, but when you've perhaps noticed that words haven't matched actions. So organizations or individuals or people have said, yeah, we support the black community, but then when you've entered the space or entered the organization or the event or whatever it is, the words haven't matched, the actions haven't matched the words. Has anybody experienced that?
Definitely. I'm sure, to be honest, I think you can throw a stone in a room of black professionals and hit a million stories. I think that just tends to be the case, unfortunately. And for me personally, a lot of the stuff that I've experienced, some of it definitely malicious, a lot of it is not done with malicious intent. It's just, I think, ignorance or, you know, lack of care. Like, for instance, in a job on my first day, my manager couldn't be bothered to write my name correctly and was just like, oh, you know, because it was just too complicated to copy, you know, a name correctly. And I think, you know, coming from an African background, we tend to have quite, not complicated to me, but I guess in a Western space, a name that you would not necessarily come across often. And yeah, oftentimes it's like disregarded, you know, we're not even going to bother to learn your name correctly. And if these are the people that you're working with, that already sets you off on a negative trajectory in a job. I've challenged, so in certain jobs, I've challenged the lack of any kind of consideration towards diversity, whether it's, you know, within programs that they have. I mean, when I'm the only Black person in a company of 400 people, you know, I would challenge stuff and be told essentially that there's not enough people of color for us to bother with stuff like that. So, and having said that, I don't think it was because the person or the people where that message was coming from I knew they weren't doing it maliciously. It's not somebody that you would automatically say, okay, this is an rightly racist person. They were just being matter of fact. Oh, we don't have that much capacity, so where we put our energy, it's not going to cover that subject matter. But they don't realize the impact of what they're saying. And I feel like a lot of it is very covert, and a lot of it is very, people just not caring enough to actually understand. And I feel like that maybe also as a mother. So returning to work as a mother in an event space, again, that's another challenge. So I'm Black, I'm a woman and a mother. I felt a lot of these microaggressions from a lot of different places. And I also feel like sometimes it depends on the protected group that you're in will impact how much you're listened to.
I love you sharing that intersectional perspectives there, being a woman, a mother, a Black woman, and there's so many different challenges there that you experience. I thank you so much for sharing, both of you. Really interesting to hear from you. Tinique, before I jump on to anything else, did you have anything you wanted to share or add?
No, I think it was just, for me, it was a culture shock when I graduated in 2014 and I came into the space of event planning and no one looked like me. That was just like, oh my God, how do I react? What do I do? Just came out of uni, I didn't know how to react in the office. Do I act myself? Do I just dim down because I've got a loud laugh? Should I do that? And my mom was like, Tinique, just don't, like, you can't really show who you are. Just make sure you're just focused on work. And I'm like, why can't I just show who I am? So it was quite hard for me to transition from uni straight into full-time job in events, and I was the only Black person in the room, in the office. So I was like, oh, what do I react? Can I laugh? Can I bust a joke? It was quite hard for me. It was really, really hard for me. But as the times has gone on, I just use that, like I said, I think in our previous conversation, that's my source. My Black excellence is my source. So I step in a room and I make sure everyone knows who Tinique Hay is, regardless of I'm Black and I'm a business owner, I'm a Black woman, I don't care. I make sure I'm in that room and everyone knows who Tinique Hay is. I don't dim down on my source, to be honest. So that's from starting 2014 to where I am now. I make sure of that.
You do.
Yeah,
you do. Just moving on to it's great to hear a little bit of the personal experiences actually in the workplace and in organizations, so thanks for sharing that. What we're going to do now is going to move on to a bit of a case study. So Tinique's going to share some of her experiences as a business owner, and then I'm going to share some experiences as well of a venue that I worked with who actually wanted to develop supply chains, and how we went about that. So Tinique, I'll let you kind of lead with this around your case study.
Yeah. So the case study is in conjunction with Gabby's case study, which is on 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace, which is where I used to work prior to leaving my 9 to 5. So 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace is a historic venue situated near St James's Park. So I'm selling it already. I've left and I'm selling it. Can you see I'm selling it? So I just based it on the fact that 10 to 11 really wanted to take that initiative to really support with diversifying their supplies chain, which is why they got on board Gabby to support them with that and to action that. So for me, whenever I reach out to venues, I will say 90% of venues that I inquire with don't have a diverse suppliers list. And for me, the question is why? And I feel like most of the venues are not really taking proactive actions to really think about, okay, how can we diversify our suppliers list? We are maybe losing, let's say, 50% or 40% of our business because we don't have a diverse suppliers list.
Especially in London. Hello.
Especially in London as well. So it's not even Afro-Caribbean suppliers. There's Asian, there's other different cultures that they're not really factoring in. For me, 75% of my clients are Afro-Caribbean who seek a cultural, authentic experience in the form of catering. And I find that extremely hard, like I mentioned, that most of the venues don't have a dedicated suppliers list of diversity within their suppliers. So for me, I really feel that my action would be for those venues who want to really diversify their suppliers list and need guidance and support, I am here to support with them by booking in a consultation call with them to really go down my suppliers list that I have, full of small Black business owners and suppliers within the Afro-Caribbean sector, and give them all the information that they need so that when they come to tendering these suppliers, they can reach out to them and tender that, and I can be there to support them as well. So that's my action, my call to action for venues as well. So I went to an event hosted by Unique Venues of London, which is a platform that showcases unique venues within London. And I was on a panel, the only Black person on a panel, and a question like this came about in terms of diversifying the suppliers list. And my call to action was to connect with me on LinkedIn, so that way I can share with you my suppliers list. Out of, let's say, 100 venues in the room, only one person DM'd me, which is shocking, really shocking. He DM'd me and said, Tinique, I really want to see your suppliers list because I want to diversify our venue suppliers directory, and that's only one person. So there is a real demand in diversifying suppliers within venues, but it's just people are not taking action. So I really like the fact that where I used to work 10 to 11, they realized, no, we need to take action on this. This shouldn't be a thing where we don't have Afro-Caribbean caterers or Black-owned businesses on our suppliers list. We're not advocating small business owners. So I'm so happy that 10 to 11 has taken action to do this. So my case study was really around my experience and my experience of my clients, their demand, and how venues can go about diversifying their suppliers with the help of Hay Events.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And we had that conversation before we hit the record, actually, about putting out these opportunities to help educate, guide, share ideas, resources, insights for people, because people are always screaming out for us. So we don't know what to do, we don't know where to go, we don't know diverse suppliers, we don't know how to engage with diverse suppliers, small businesses, Black-owned businesses, and and you hand it on a plate, and people still don't bite. So I still find that quite confusing. If anybody out there watching or listening has a potential reason for that, do let me know. I mean, I'm going to leave it at that. Pop me an email.
It might be a case of, because some historic venues, the particular guidance on who they get on board in terms of their suppliers. So maybe it's a case where they're thinking, this supplier might not be able to match or suit their venue, but that's just maybe just an excuse, to be honest, because they can extend the process and make sure they have got all, for example, liability insurance and risk assessment. They can go through that. So that, I guess, that's just a risk. I mean, what was I going to say? That's just them saying no, they don't want to do it, or they don't have time to do it. But yeah.
Amazing, because that segues into my case study. So Naomi, if you want to share the slides. Yeah, so as Tinique mentioned, and very much through Tinique advocating and pushing this through within Carlton House Terrace, they decided to get some consultancy and some support around how they can look at diversifying the supply chains, which address some of those things that you brought up, Tinique, around what historic venues feel might be the challenges, which are so anyway, so it was great to work with them. Some of the work that we essentially did was an education piece, so important. So actually one of my facilitators, who is a woman of South Asian heritage, went in and delivered a session providing a bit of the why around it's so important for ecosystems, for systemic change, to support suppliers from a diverse range of backgrounds. And she guided them, supporting them in creating a diversity and inclusion statement and manifesto as it relates to ensuring they are attracting, supporting, highlighting suppliers from diverse backgrounds. So that was the education piece that first occurred. And then I personally went through looking at the whole procurement purpose and identified areas where bias might be at play, where they could implement particular processes that would help attract and support diverse suppliers, and also then create a bit of a strategy around how they're going to attract diverse suppliers onto their kind of like preferred suppliers list, essentially, because they wanted to really diversify the preferred suppliers list. So gave some insights and also resources and actions attached to KPIs as well on how they can do this. so it was great to work with them, and they implemented the recommendations, and it was really great for their brand. Not that that's the most important thing, but they were able to share publicly, openly with their colleagues, peers, potential clients that this is our commitment, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, this is what the outcomes are going to be, and we're going to report back how we've been doing. And that is the key. I really love the proactivity around this that they did. And it just shows, because it's an historic venue as well, right? And so what the guidance there was for them is, right, so what we can do, we can hold a day where we do some training and some education on how to work in historical venues, as you said, Tinique, around risk assessments, around policies, and what was the other thing you said?
The public liability insurance.
The public liability and things like that, which is all quite simple stuff, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So offering that guidance, that support and training to those suppliers sets them up for success in the first place, and makes them feel comfortable in offering their services within the venue, and then making sure that they're going to be supported by the team and venue staff as well. And as you mentioned, Tinique, as well, it diversifies the clients then, because clients will come go, right, great, so they've got somebody authentic who can deliver the food from our culture, who understands our needs, and they're more likely to book the venue. So it was a win-win and totally makes sense. Does anyone have any questions around that? Because I was talking for quite a while and Tinique shared. Did anybody want to add anything or ask any questions around our case studies? No worries if not. No. Okay, cool. I think next, let's maybe look at... Oh, where's that gone? Maybe let's go to the video, actually, Naomi, if that's all right. So the next video is a fantastic person I met called Romeo. And he works in the DEI space, but he reworks more specifically in SEG, so environmental social governance, and really works with corporates, which obviously can be a little bit different to working in agencies, venues, etc. But just a really interesting person and a human being. Did a great podcast episode with him last year for Black History Month, and he shares some interesting insights and thoughts around for organizations around supply chains, why it's important, and why it's important to leave a legacy in relation to social sustainability. So I'm gonna ask Naomi to play the video, and he will better explain.
Even the policy that the UK government has now around supply chain diversity, I helped wrote when Theresa May was in power. So when I left corporate, the whole idea was, how can I make even a much bigger impact? And initially it started off by us forming a private equity firm to invest in these diverse businesses, to help them grow. So we would bring our expertise, help them to structure, bring some cash to help them to grow and to develop.
Yeah.
In 2015, I suffered a brain aneurysm. It was during that time that I started questioning myself, like, if I died now, what would that legacy be? Like, how would I have left this place a much better place than I found it, right? And it was in that hospital that a lot of what we do now with Lumos just emerged. The whole notion that I need to use the knowledge and skills that I know to help to drive change, to help to make the world a better place, to make sure that the people that exist in this planet and to come, inherit something that is far better than what is here now, right? And I looked at, okay, what are the things that I'm really passionate about? And the things that I was passionate about is the whole thing about how businesses are run properly in terms of the governance, right? How do they ensure that the goods and services that they deliver value to all their stakeholders, right? Their customers, making sure that the goods and services that they deliver to their customers are making a difference in the lives of those who buy it. The people that work for them, like, are you creating an environment where people feel like, you spend most of your life at work, are you creating an environment where people feel like, I want to get up out of bed and go to this place, where I am going to be spending all this time on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
How do we deal with our suppliers to make sure that we're empowering them and making sure that they themselves are also empowering their employees and spending the money in the right way, right?
Yes.
How do we work in our communities? Like, are we really making sure that if we're a mining company, we leave the place in a way that the community that uses those facilities are not being damaged in terms of their health, or you're not putting toxic things in the water, all of that kind of stuff. Are you actually, even like your charitable giving, how impactful is your charitable giving as a business? Are you making sure that the money that you give is really delivering value, or is it that you're just doing it for a tick box exercise, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what we're about. We're about the whole notion of saying to business, being good is better for business, full stop.
Wow. So that was really interesting to learn and hear a bit more from a corporate governance perspective. Did anyone have anything they wanted to ask, or an insight that they got from what Romeo just shared there? Okay,
sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm out and about at the moment. No, I just wanted to reflect upon it. So working within an agency and having worked with corporate, from what he said, is so striking to me, and I don't understand why that notion hasn't trickled into companies yet. It feels like DE&I is it's an afterthought. Whereas if we tied it up in the conversation, in the wider conversation around sustainability, we actually might be able to make a few more inroads when it comes to diversity, and looking at diversity as a whole in order to, further diversify the industry, deal with a lot of these issues that I think we're discussing today, and that come up in a lot of hushed or private conversations when you have diverse groups of people but are not necessarily being had industry-wide.
Yeah, and everything that we're delivering is also impactful to the communities as well, all communities. Yeah, really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. That was a great insight there. We're going to kind of move on to a bit more of a free-flowing conversation now. So no slides, no videos. We're just going to kind of have a little bit of a chat. I have got a few questions, but we can kind of go off on tangents. So it's chill. And if anybody wants to jump in, ask anything or add anything, feel free. But I'll share a question at least to get us started in the conversation. So if you mentioned, so this is kind of referring back to the poll at the beginning, actually. So if you mentioned you've started working on, or your organization has started working on, or planning to implement a diverse supplier network, what challenges or obstacles have they or you encountered? And the question's also in the chat in case you need to have another reflect. And anyone feel free to jump in whenever.
I think from a business owner perspective, it's just more of the challenges of, just like I mentioned before, just finding venues that who have a diverse suppliers list, and the obstacle of them saying, yeah, you can bring your own catering, but you have to have exclusive hire of the venue, which is 10K, 10 to 15K. So that is just out of my client's budget. Yeah. So it's finding that balance between, can we have our own caterers come in? They've got their liability insurance, they've got risk exempt, they've got all their documents that you need. What else do you need for me to show that this supplier that my client wants to use as a caterer is liable to host and cater for my client's event at your venue? So just more of that obstacle of getting around bringing in my preferred caterers, if they don't have it on their list, into the venue, and having all the documents in place for them to be able to deliver their service. And the obstacle of, no, we can't do that because they're not on approved suppliers list, you have that exclusive hire. That's me personally, what I'm currently facing, and trying to overcome that is something that I'm currently working on. So yeah,
that's really interesting, because as organizations are trying to pull together their DEI strategy, if they are even putting together DEI strategy, and setting kind of their goals and objectives and things like that, that is like a really impactful action that a venue could implement as part of their DEI strategy. E.g., we are not going to charge exclusive hire.
Yeah.
As long as they provide, as you said, the relevant materials and their liability insurance, etc., etc. That's something we're going to do, so in order to make sure we have more diverse suppliers working our venues, and therefore more diverse clients and guests who get to engage with our spaces and our venues. It's kind of like, I think when people think about DEI strategies, everyone goes for these kind of like huge, lofty ideas that don't really have that much meaning to their business or their clients. But something as simple as that can be really useful. I know it's probably not as simple as I'm saying. There are some hoops that are going to have to be gone through, people that are going to have to be spoken to, educated. I understand all of that. But for me, that's a really powerful, strong action or initiative that a venue or an organization could take. And as you mentioned, this would directly impact your clients, your business, you, the guests, etc. Has anybody else noticed any kind of challenges or obstacles when it comes to diverse suppliers basically being used, whether it's in venues or whether that is agencies selecting more diverse suppliers, working with smaller businesses, working with Black-owned business, etc.?
For me, I think, so within the way we work, we do have preferred suppliers that we work with as a team of event managers. However, I'm always on the lookout for, smaller businesses to work with or smaller suppliers that are able to support on events. I think the difficulty for me is their ability to compete with some of the other bigger firms, say. So it's always a little bit more difficult because maybe they're not able to compete on price points. Sometimes the contracts may be too big for them. And also sometimes it's just actually getting access to them. I really wish there was a directory, like a diverse directory that I could tap into.
Oh, I think we've lost Tammy there for a second, but
I don't know, production suppliers or something, but I just don't have it. So sometimes just because of time, we end up going with the same old same.
Yeah, the competing on price can be a challenge. My response to this, and it's not strategic, people just stop being so greedy. if we're going to make change, we're going to have to make some sacrifices along the way, along this journey. But ultimately, once we've made those sacrifices, we're going to reap the rewards, if you see what I mean. But, initially, sometimes we have to take a hit. It's like when you start a business and you sort of say, right, I'm going to speculate to accumulate. That can happen in relation to suppliers, working with diverse suppliers as well. So it's another one of those little kind of nuggets of an excuse. So I'm a bit like, just take a bit of a hit for a bit then, potentially, Okay, so great that they're a huge organization and they can charge less for their product or their service, but is it really going to hit the bottom line that much? Is there another way that we can move across budgets, move around budgets so that, it's not a bigger impact, for example? Can we get rid of this or that that's not really required, that's outdated and we don't need anyway, to make space for this new supplier or company? I've noticed.
No, I do agree with that, Gabby, and I have to say, I think it's just on that, if it was to do with a sustainability, so okay, this is better for the environment, I could possibly get that over the line, but diversity doesn't seem to be important enough to some of the organizations, the corporates, for them to take that hit. And I feel like maybe it's just pushing the conversation more and actually highlighting the importance of it that will allow us to be able to negotiate in that way. You can't attend an event without sustainability being on the topic. But these days, sometimes you have to look for anything discussing diversity in any real vigor. So it is one of those things, because the diversity conversation is dying out. Our ability to push for diverse solutions to clients is less difficult because it's not as important.
Yeah, because the highlight is on sustainability. I hear you on that one. Did anybody want to add anything there? What I did want to jump onto was, so we talked a lot about kind of like diverse suppliers, but let's also think about Black individuals as well, even professionals who are trying to climb the corporate ladder. Black entrepreneurs, business owners, I would like to kind of like think a little bit more around what organizations can do to support Black individuals as well. So obviously from a supply perspective, that's one example. I'm wondering if there are other ways that you've either come across or that you've thought of where companies and organizations can support Black people more in the workplace or in business.
I think in terms of collaboration, so I went to the Black Business Show, and the Black Business Show has expo stands. So corporate organizations or companies can actually buy a stand at the Black Business Show, just to advocate them recruiting more Black and diversity within their organization, because it's created around Black entrepreneurs, Black business owners, or individuals who want to step into the event industry, or they've got their own business, or they want to go into finance and so forth like that, because HSBC was there. So it's great opportunities for companies to maybe do an expo and collaborate with companies like the Black Business Show, essentially, or for them to create more of like an open day, like a recruitment day, or tell people to come down to their office space and talk to people within the firm, just to hear about their diversity and what they do within the company as well. So those are some of the things that I would say some companies, organizations can do for individuals or people who want to start their own business, or people want to get into the world of events. But those are the avenues that companies can go down.
Is there anything else anyone would like to add around that? I popped another bit of a question in the chat, a bit more around supporting Black talent. I'm trying to think of things that or initiatives that I've even seen in place. And now this is an interesting kind of concept in itself, not concept, but experience, in that I'm a woman of color, I'm a business owner, and I work in the diversity and inclusion space consulting. And I have a background in inclusion accessibility through when I was a dance artist, and I did a master's around this, around making performing arts more inclusive and accessible. A lot of my friends and community are from the LGBTQ community. So really, I feel like my community is such a huge mix of communities, groups and underrepresented and marginalized people. Not all, obviously, it's a mix. Which is why the focus of Diversity Lies is on all underrepresented groups. But what I've noticed is, like, even as a Black woman, I hardly ever get approached to talk about how to make the experience better in the workplace for Black people or Black talent. I've just suddenly had that realization. And I'm just sharing it as an anecdote. I don't know if I have the answer to that or what my thoughts are around that. And actually, it might be something that I walk away and reflect on, apart from after kind of like Black Lives Matter and the protests, where there was a little bit around anti-racism and microaggression 18 months, 2 years ago. The conversations kind of stopped, and I'm asked a lot more around LGBTQ, inclusion and accessibility, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, and I enjoy doing that work because I have connections within those communities anyway. But I'm like, whoa, this is interesting, not necessarily great. Does everyone have any thoughts around that? Because I don't know what my thoughts are.
Maybe people find it just difficult to bring that up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a challenging conversation. Like, oh, should we bring it up? Should we not? I don't know. That's the only thing I don't know. They may find it a bit challenging of how to approach that conversation.
People don't mind bringing up about disability.
Exactly. I don't know then, yeah.
Mental health, neurodiversity, people who are in wheelchairs, and I wonder. But again, it's more contentious topic, isn't it? Black and the Black experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, go on, Asmarian.
Oh yeah, I was just agreeing with Tinique, because even in my research, I realized obviously I did interview Caucasian and then the diverse community, and most of them, they were like, oh, they don't know how to approach it, so they just drop it. And I'm like, but that's not a solution. If you don't know how to approach, ask how can you approach, and you learn. And it's so funny because even in my workplace, I work in the hospitality industry as well. They just drop it. And it was funny when Tammy was telling about the name. I was like, that's not how you spell my name. That's fine. Keep going. I said, huh? It's not fine. That's not my name. And literally they wanted me to go with the badge around talking to people with the wrong name.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I'm not going there. At least if you cannot say Osarium and put Feli, it's the same meaning. But even that, they say, oh, it's a bit complicated. I was like, but it's Italian. It's like it's difficult. Like, so yeah, it's the fact that people they rather just drop it than learn how to converse. And I told one of them, I had to learn how to converse with you people because I'm Black. I was born in Italy, so that is already 2 different cultures that are having me come to the UK that is totally different from those 2 cultures. And certain words I would say, they will take it in a different way, but that's not what I meant. I had to learn, sit down on how to have a conversation with you, and it would be appreciated if you can just spend 1 minute to learn how to converse with me. And I think that's the major problem.
Yeah. Or I'd love for any of our listeners, viewers, anybody who sees any socials around this confab, if they could perhaps share their own thoughts or insights around that question, particularly as a white person, on what would make the conversation easier. I feel like we had this conversation 3 years ago, but I'm going to ask it again. What would make the conversation easier to have conversations around, you know, the Black experience, supporting Black talent, Black excellence, engaging with the Black community, celebrating Black History Month, for example? I'd really love to hear any feedback or thoughts on that. And there's resources like myself. I've got developed a whole events plan for Black History Month that I can support organisations to deliver. Obviously, it's too late now, but for next Black History Month, which you should be organising in May, June, July, FYI, around different activities that can be done to celebrate and highlight the Black community and Black excellence. We curate all of that content and, you know, all the logistics around that. You've got Tinique here as well, you know, who's already got that diverse suppliers list and is doing stuff within the industry as well, and things that she can share. With there is resources out there. Make use of them, I would say. Did you want to add anything to kind of like close off?
Yeah, for me, it's, we shouldn't just advocate Black excellence during Black History Month. It should be every month, to be honest, along with other highlights within the month. But it shouldn't just be, okay, let's do something for Black History Month because it's Black History Month. That's my views anyway. And my views
this month anyway. I mean, I've not really been online, but I've not really seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen much. Yeah, I haven't really seen quite. Yeah, I haven't really seen. Obviously, after George Floyd, then yeah, it was elevated to the next level, but I haven't really seen much this month in terms of what organizations are doing, which is a shame. But yeah, for me personally, it's just more of the venue side, just for them to take the initiative. It was sad that only one venue approached me to ask me for my suppliers list, so it's just the venues taking initiative. And maybe when I'm inquiring with venues now and just say, this is what I can do, I see that you don't have a diverse suppliers list, however I've got one, can we have a discussion about this, because I want to support you with diversifying your suppliers list.
Yeah,
so be a case where I'm taking action when I make those inquiries. It's actually, let's go jump on a call with the business development manager or the head of sales, and let's have a discussion about when are you going to be doing your tendering for your suppliers and how can I support you. So that is action,
I love that. We'll pop, Tinique, some of your details for your services and things like that. Actually, if you want to pop it in the chat, just in case, and then we will make sure we guide people to your resources and also your website and everything. So if you want to share in the chat, feel free to share now. Then Naomi, you can copy that down, and then we'll share those with a wider recording. I think we're going to wrap that up now, unless anybody's got anything pressing that they want to share that they didn't have an opportunity to say. There's nothing worse than walking away thinking, oh, I was really wanted to say that and not have the opportunity to. So now's the time we'll forever hold your peace.
I have a question.
Hey.
Yeah, I can already feel, oh, this is going to be a spicy one. Go for it.
No, so basically now I finished uni. I'm trying to enter into the event industry. I love doing logistics. I've done it for basically, as I said before, music background, more in church. I found myself in there, and it's just going bigger. But because I want to be mixed. I keep saying it. I want to see other people, other culture. Every time I approach and do an interview, and let's say, second interview, I start asking about their diversity, and they're like, yeah, we have a lot. But obviously I go further in the research and go and see who is actually working for them and do my research. And I realize that they're just ticking a box. How can now I don't feel to even enter in the job? So I'm like, how can they approach us without showing us that it's not ticking a box, but they're actually doing stuff? And how can I go in that industry and say, okay, I can be the diverse, like I can be the diverse person where people on my back can look at me pushing forward, if that makes sense in the question.
Yes.
Yeah. I think for me, when you're applying for this job, go on LinkedIn and look at who else has been within that company. So if there's someone of color in that company, approach them and say, oh, I'm currently looking to apply for this job. What do you think? Can I have a quick chat with you, 5 minutes? I just want to know about their culture and what they do in terms of diversity. Do they have a group for like diversity or Black in their sector, whatever, Black in events or stuff like that? Do you guys meet up on a monthly basis? How does it work? How do they support us in terms of Black, Afro-Caribbean? What do they do? So I think that's the approach that I will approach it. Go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's your best friend, and start connecting with people and have a conversation, because they will be truthful with you and say, basically, yeah, they don't do that. I don't think it's right, but it's up to you if you want to apply for it. But I think get someone who's actually in the business, in the company, and have a chat with them first and then apply for it. That's what I think. And just do your research as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's a really good tip, Tinique, as well. And that's something that I definitely advise for anybody who is looking to join an organisation, is speak to the current teams, especially anybody who's from a marginalised group. Check out what the vibe is. And I also tell my clients that, I'm like, just FYI, you might feel like you're not able to hire diverse talent, but it's probably because they've done their research.
Exactly.
So they've done their research. They've probably gone on your websites, they've looked at your board, they've spoken to employees, and that might be why you're not attracting. So, you know, you've got to look at what's happening internally around the education and the support and the guidance that you're providing for your teams, your managers, your leaders, on how to be more inclusive to Black talent. Get the clean house first, get house in order. Start looking at what initiatives you're putting in place, so that you're doing something that's really actionable and impactful, and then you're going to start attracting more diverse talent, and you're going to be more excited to attract more diverse talent because you know you've put the work in. It just creates excitement. When you've not done the work and it feels like a tick box, you don't want to do it because you feel like we don't want to do a tick box exercise, but also it's really obvious for somebody who is applying that it feels like a tick box exercise. So it needs to be about cleaning house first and showing a commitment.
100%.
Well, we are out of time, but thank you so much.
Tammy had her hand up. I don't know if Tammy's still.
Oh, hand up, Tammy. Sorry, go for it. Did you want to add something?
No, I was just going to add to don't be scared to enter jobs where it's not diverse, because you might be the change they need. So sometimes you can only change things from the inside. So if the job feels right, but it's not diverse, don't let that deter you, because you might be the person they need to start their diversity program.
Gosh, yes, that's a really good point to flag. Don't be afraid if the team isn't already diverse, but definitely make sure you've done your research around the culture, because as you say, you don't want to put yourself in a toxic, traumatic space or culture. But as Tammy said, you could be the change that they need. So just do your due diligence and research. 100%.
Yeah.
Really good insights shared by both.
Thank you. Thank you,
everyone, for joining. It's been such a really interesting, great discussion. Thank you so much.